Hello, America, nations and species. Man, especially regarding nuclear, we can't have nuclear weapons. Otherwise, there's a negative value nature progression that's self-value. There were a whole bunch of people tied to West Farms Mall with Better Connecticut News and WFSB who already used their roles with nations like Russia, like with fire departments. I never had anything to do with Tom Peruta. He's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, for example, as one Russian family with other families I don't know the names of. Whole bunch of people involved with a Leahy family that has been with also with a Joshua Julian family, Joshua Stryker, involved with foreign and domestic family members, a whole bunch of Joe DeMaros, a Tony DeMaro, a Paul DeMaros, Paula DeMaro, recorded confessed intercities involved racketeering with state police, FBI clicks, former director of the FBI Robert Luskin down. Now these are people also involved with on off his lawyers' offices on Farmington Avenue, which is a Robert Cheverie in a case in 2006 with people also involved with racketeering with Connecticut media, people on and off their location leading up to and in the Trade Center attack context and since, and with the investigators of it. And that's also involved showing them recorded themselves involved with various natures of racketeering and abuses of kids. Also with the people that are the only let realized standing manifest counters to such, recorded and involved with the furtherance of such. Child racketeering that is involved with the Justice Department, Washington, D.C. Trade Center, originally still recorded how maintained criminally foreign influence. Roles with my town interbranch. This is this on off the state judicial branch offices. All people all along that route with them all the way through from Glastonbury all the way through. They're on off the state judicial branch offices, low houses, locations like a Fianza family recorded, confessed, demonstrated involved with WFSB racketeering leading up to and in the Trade Center attack leading up to and in the 2006 case with them pretending to record things in conjunction with them and with them pretending to stuff in the path is real. These are people involved with database racketeering. A whole bunch of people tied to CCSU recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering through time as the same family members with kids, foreign and domestic family members, private, overt criminal enterprises, the same people involved in criminal uses of the witness protection program. They're stewards involved with this because we have interbranch, individually grouped together, already recorded themselves as predators originally and still. Now, see, so they're what they're doing is recorded. They're involved with child trafficking because they're attaching kids to fake locations, fake ties to others. They're pretending passions and emotions in relationship to what they hear. When they were the sickest natures of crimes tied to crime methods bonded on campuses, keeping the kids of interbranch and of all private tied to them. And like that's interbranch. Let's talk about prosecutors, lawyers are also recorded how used for fake sides of fact treatment nature. Lawyers, originally and still. Now, see, this is identity racketeering, originally and still with color, where they are recorded interbranch crime predators pretending to be caring against prejudice, against racism, because they have intercultural undercover involved with the furtherance of the overt criminal enterprises buying as one together. And what made that self-valued? So there were a whole bunch of people with the corner of Town Line Drive and Southstein Highway and other locations along Southstein Highway, like like an Omni place. These are also people associated with Pito Gordona. I never saw him in the gym. I never fought with him. You know, I could beat him in a boxing match. These are people involved with extortion me with a Vega family, also with officers involved threatening me not to report his crimes with military, foreign and domestic, with Confederate flag theme. Now, see, these are the types of things that were used to record victims like CNN. They're victims. They're only hearing what they hear from others, and what they're trying to learn now is in collusion with what recorded has our nation's in collusion, lying about what is actually recorded over online, because they need to hide live progressions tied to how they've been all kinds of criminally foreign influence, fact treatments, delusions actually recorded as their treatments of every case, as their treatments of time in relationship to their time and positions, relationship to their actions, because their natures of child abuse, every individual of each branch of each spot originally instilled since semi-ancient times. So what is with nuclear energy? Meanwhile, we have just the invention of putting the nature back to an identical relationship to itself that can evolve. If you have water, as long as you have more than is going to evaporate, you can put it real deep, and you could have that deep, so you could maintenance of it. See, we have all landscape theater. This was tactical. This is the organized crime racketeering method. I'm not a lawyer. This is common sense. Lawyers originally still recorded themselves as fake with, for example, if you're entertaining black with the law, as they do now, even all people, then you're supposed to fight. Then someone's going to fight. They're going to say, "Well, look, I'm black." That's why no one's allowed to. If you're really trying to speak for logistical impositions, which are also not just physical, you can't be entertaining what was forced sick like that. You have to understand that and how we are each individual, a complete nature of volume, because what will only stay complete. That's why we have to be grouped and or species bonded too. Complete identity. Complete identity that is more and more the identity of what is positive or negative to what has perfect memory, and with a little bit more of its semi-nature coming in with alpha and omega's value, as we are more of its making more of it. There is only plurality per the one, per a relationship to the one identity per science that is attached to all questions as its answer slash s, as what is self-generating by being and by staying unchanging, two natures of semi-nature, distinctly and non-distinctly, as what causes more and more forever nature as a nature of volume to be. So it causes more and more things to come into soil that is positive, that is also positive unto itself. It causes more and more things to come and be revealed through its relationship to waters. Because one identity's identity of relationship to itself is in demonstration to us, again, as the answer slash S of why and how Earth is distinct from the rest of space. It is Earth's simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to the identity of algebra, which is a lot of 5 semi-natures simultaneously, while it is 3 semi-natures. Jesus Christ is about the Father, but he's about Alpha and Omega. Because what is physical difference between male and female is only in demonstration of that can only be an increasing value, positive or negative, and with the Trinity that's coming in, and with its complete nature of relationship to itself, which is where and how and why, like ourself has dictate that we need clean water for it, because we're its body. See, when we're not its system, we're an incomplete system, and you're not logic. You're criminally foreign influenced logic as positive that has to obfuscate positive's actual course, which is, again, 5 bonded semi-natures one way and 3 bonded semi-natures another way. And what bonds them both simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly, is one identity and demonstrations of us to us. Also, because that bond is only its semi nature, because it can only be semi nature as semi nature. And with for so we have its complete nature of relationship to itself. So we must understand that and how logic as criminal incestuous nature, especially legalized, because this is criminally legalized since semi-ancient times. It tricked, hurt, forced, and persuaded the phenomenon of semi-ancient of modern nations to be victims, thanking God for roles with anything for survival. Defenses of fact cheating natures formerly that were reinvested to motivations nature's need lies and styles of liars incapable of standing free speech and science's course, vaccines, incapable of not self-valuing the torture, the role that really keeps all knaves, relationship to a little logistical spot that's been on the map for in relation to all the Straits of Hormuz, with Wall Street Journal through lifetimes. So because we're playing games with economics, leaving we never have a freedom of religion. Religion's a little tool for interbranch, individually grouped and together, all private tied to them, especially in campuses, especially Sandy Hook one, especially because there were recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved racketeering that also used on off the state judicial branch offices, on off the state prison offices, families through generations with racketeering roles through house slash SMI area involved with this with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, his lawyer's office on Farmington Avenue. You go down the street from there, you're at the Harriet Beecher Stowe Mark Twain house. Now I want to read you something. Wait 1 second, 1 second. Yes. So I'm reading from an encyclopedia about John Brown, the World Book Encyclopedia about John Brown. I just want to read this part of it. The North considered Brown a criminal. Many people in the North, however, including some of the more moderate abolitionists, regarded him as a martyr to conscientious, if mistaken, enthusiasm. The Harper's Ferry insurrection increased the feelings against slavery already aroused by the publication of Uncle Tom's Cabin and the Dred Scott fugitive slave decision. The the attitude of many Northerners toward the insurrection made the South more determined in its defense of slavery. George Washington didn't have free speech. Right here in the North, in Hartford slash Wethersfield. Now, Harry Beecher Stowe House, the Mark Twain House, and that symbol, Uncle Tom, which everyone was a fact cheating nature slave. They're making people start fights and then defend relationships to their quality of fact treatment. What? As victims, but as victim predators, as criminal insidiousness nature, not as science, and pretending to be about positive. So self-valuing positives course obfuscated, which is again was by the identity which is self-generating. The identity algebra is about. This is also with the Quran noting that we're not supposed to agree about the name. If you listen really to the sequence true, value true, to stuff like that. In other words, the identity as logic has science's obligations to discern what is the identity of relationship to itself, that the identity of relationship that all things have to themselves at once has, that is also positive. Discern that distinctly from what is not. Now, see, following that, what it is how the ancients revealed how to cause evolution's fruits and gifts, and they couldn't fathom how humanity would forget, which is being positive to sequence, to the order of what is the order of the finite, from before them, while being the value of the smallest thing, and while being the value to what is active value simultaneously, distinctly, and non-distinctly. Again, as the part of these five natures, five semi-natures, and being progression's value. And then by being further positive, further the complete identity that we are our semi-nature relationship to, which is also its complete nature that never mixed and won't two ways with these three semi-natures, again distinctly and non-distinctly from how they are the five semi-natures, the same ones, us. Logic is made up of five parts: sequence, the order to the finite, the order to the active's value. Again, each value has 2 points of possession on both sides of it. These five things are bonded. We are in as many identities of value progression as can be. There are all still one semi-nature relationship to itself, which is the way it is two semi-natures three ways: distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. Which is the value that space forever and that their identity together shares and is. But it is also bigger than itself, as we have an identity that is bigger than all the individual identity parts of our body in demonstration of it. See, but now it's through value nature systems. Can't help but be a value nature system. Can't be helped but being one self-valuing the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures, not only blamed on other things, others, and selves, but only having been. And again, with fact cheaping nature, as fact cheaping nature styles as criminal ceases nature. So we also have a guy on WFSB. He goes, "Come on!" I don't know if it's better Connecticut. Nice guy. I feel bad for him, but in other words, he's involved with child trafficking with judges and with various natures of police forms. Weathersfield Police, the police chief for years. His family, his kids, his grandkids. So whether then you talk about it, that they're using that as they're putting them out there, because I never had a conscious conversation with her in my life. John Maiano is also one of the ones involved with WFSB. Attached me to fake conversation, made confessions brought her up. I don't know him. I mean, I know him. He's involved with a sequence shift where he pretended I knew him before that I knew him. With people, he's involved with my neighbor who came into my grade when I was in fourth grade. Now he has cousins I never hung around with. He has a whole bunch of people from my town, in my area, my age. I never saw him one time growing up. I saw him before. They have to lie about any context I know them in, and they're making overall allegations against people that not by accident interbranch, that are lies consciously. And now in other words, they can't deal with allegations criminally. For example, this is how they were kept criminally foreign influence through time, on and off CCSU, through time, intercities involved with it, houses on and off the state judicial branch offices, on and off the state prison offices, with racketeering with people all along routes, also with a pattern of that tied to houses on and off Two Rod Highway, people associated with Lowe's, policing, and Home Depot at the same time. People associated with the policing of insurance companies. People, a whole bunch of people associated with the DeMorals, with the Kerr family, with the Hanson family. That's also tied to the guy. Come on. They're spreading lies through kids. WFSB is, like, in other words, involved with the child trafficking. It's subtle. And how they exploit it, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. But I was in the school of the principal sex offender they're involved with this with. There are a whole bunch of natures of child abuse and roles with it, including women judges. But they don't let anyone speak, and they're attaching everyone to fake recorded things. They use faked arrests consciously. I mean, faked righteous arrests consciously, indoor rights arrests where they're putting lies in and they're pretending passions, emotions because they need to hide their life aggressions per their roles. What is making people need to use their voice to counter their roles with drug crimes, gun crimes, poison crimes, mail crimes, wire crimes, and criminal uses of the witness protection program. Also, directly and indirectly, criminal uses of the FBI, a whole bunch of them and their family members associated with racketeering with other nations, military, foreign, and domestic, on and off CCSU, involved with them criminally. Their roles lying about what is actually recorded on Facebook. So, regardless, if George Washington and our founder, really James Madison, his plan was to preempt and force everyone to fight. No one had, in other words, they used John Brown as a victim. Then, in other words, so he's from like Connecticut, New York, and he went different parts. And then one time he went to like, John Brown, 1800 through 1859. 1859 is 1 year before the Civil War starts. 1860 to 1865 is the Civil War. It would be more. See, but that's why it's critical to understand why and how George Washington had to leave overt slavery in the North with Hartford, Connecticut, with a whole bunch of nations and no one allowed to talk about it. Everyone was forced to play England's the nation in conjunction with a whole bunch of slavery underpinnings to keep. That's a racketeering method, in other words. Racketeering method, entrenchment roles against everyone. Everyone's a slave. It's like telling it's like having telling a guy in a field with no home with a gun on him, and someone's gonna whip him, and his family members all part of this torture. Tell him why don't you fight against that? And so they built that to have everyone blame the wrong things other than themselves. Everyone asleep. Yeah, see, they went up death bread. So this is about racketeering American history. Not a lawyer, not police form, not criminal. Vaccines. We also have criminally foreign influenced military originally still. We have like, for example, you could just look at the VA buildings, which is just a packed in, reinforced pathology of infrastructure that our founders left us to demonstrate with zoning laws worse than semi-unsafe, criminally foreign influence, used role tools to keep life aggressions tied to tactically nature, relationship to nature, native. It's going to keep demonstrating negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. So we have other self-valued roles. So we have standing life aggression. Before that was sophistication, the sophistication of this racketeering method. It still has our founders in our faces, overtly and insidiously, multi-front, simultaneously stolen our founders' identities, what they really wanted us to know and say. In many pride, we don't have free speech. WFSB, recorded involved. Attach me, little kids, fake locations with judges through time. These are interstates clicks on off Trinity College, on off the campus's intercities manifest and having been exploited manifest, how manifest. On off shared policing, like see how Nipsey Hussle is associated with like one of those little community. Oh, this is the business shared policing. Racketeering, that's the word. Yes. Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act. Robert Luskin used to be a standing chairperson on that, director of the FBI. Now, see, CNN has also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with racketeering uses of CCSU. They're involved with that. And with preventing mandated law, preventing people from reporting courts that use the courts to prevent people from countering. Like if you try to tell them, they'll make a problem. They'll ignore you, then make a problem, forging names, switching names, attaching little kids to fake locations as people involved with sick New York City. Connecticut manifest be sick because because how Pentagon, Washington D.C. trade centers maintain manifest criminally foreign influence. Whole bunch of people associated with this DeMauro family, also on off the state judicial branch offices, other families. They forging names and switching names. A whole bunch of people with New Britain Superior Court with a Kerr family, Officer Jerry Miller, an Iowa family recorded a whole confessed and demonstrated a whole bunch of other people involved with them with overt criminal enterprises and with the stewards of the witness protection program involved with them crimes with judges, police forms, their family members. So what I need is to have mandated law file because they attached me to a fake location too. Because I caught them with, they had all these confessions to me from strangers from my area and from different parts of town who they use like, there's a pond near me. So they may have people, some walk by, they just have people walk by and make confessions out of nowhere. This is also how they're using confessions to maintain criminal and seditious nature, libel, aggression, self-value. Thanks you. So I'm not trying to moralize anybody. I'm trying to report actual crime acts and people associated with New Britain Superior Court and with Justice Department racketeering with New York City. Therefore, the law is slack and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doth come pass about the righteous. Therefore, wrong judgment proceedeth. So I'm trying to show here about the uses of John Brown. Then they had him like here because they were debating what their stance was going to be on slavery as slaves still in Kansas. But see, everyone was playing fact, cheap nature racketeering. But we had the underlying roles with that, with James Madison, George Washington. Our founders had to keep forced what was going to force slavery not there. But that was only, they knew that was going to happen. They weren't, but our founders didn't have free speech. And they had to force too short of it. They had to pretend other people's speech as the law is forced. They're all gone aside. Become filthy. See, it was not them. They didn't have free speech. That's what they're trying to say. George Washington told the lie. He didn't chop down the real branches in Connecticut. And he did chop them down at the same time. See, we have A or B forced because we have a pathology of fact-cheaping nature because we have the science. We have the sciences, the campuses, all database relationships, including the branches, all identities of the law. They're already styles of liars, so they can't stand logic's actually needed words. It's an expert quality. In other words, you can't teach about what is inherent, which is about scientific value with logic actual. I'm not even a doctor. These people are delusions wrought and involve a whole bunch of natures with racketeering, where they're in here. They can't pretend to be integrity of law and not be lie progressions from those spots, not be exploited individually, grouped together, misprision identities, already having been lie progressions, having used already where it counts all physical values, sick. That's why we have no science spoke for one urban area. let alone one suburban area, let alone urban. Now, this is tied to what George Washington left right here for us to demonstrate about his what is now Trinity College was first George Washington College. It's associated with what in the World Wars they had to get money from J.P. Morgan to fight the World Wars, which we were forced to. All fake sides, though. All kinds of medical racketeering associated with, and as the value treatments of psychology involved with the branches that were used by a racketeering method by criminal foreign influences, fluent through each nation, though. It's using the identity of nations individually grouped together, self-valued roles, misprision. No one knows how to do it because everyone came through the same criminally foreign influenced ancient sciences. Since before modern religions, they're not allowed free speech. The religious spots, houses on and off them were involved foreign and domestic military racketeering roles also with the many with West Farms Mall, involved with Better Connecticut, with other nations, with deans of colleges, are allies. You know, it's all fake things. They have the ally as a value. They're like psychos, or they're going to shoot over a drone in Iran. Thank God we have a president pulled from away from war. Then the lords of the Palestinians. So in other words, before Job is when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Palestine, saying, "Come up this once, for he hath showed me all his heart." I don't know about some. I'm talking the first part of the Quran and the first part of the Old Testament are about science, right there up front, and that's never let free speech. Because so they're valuing the Quran, they're valuing the Old Testament out of sequence, and that's per their roles with racketeering, like a whole bunch of we have triage relationships, like we have real needs for healthcare, and these places are involved with anomaly being exploited, like medical databases stacking people, also involved with child trafficking, with child sex offender, principal sex offenders campus. There are a whole bunch of men and women doctors of psychology, ones with badges, various natures of courts and their family members, all recorded how kept needing to hide life aggressions, personal, individually, and group, and from whoever becomes president. So they're pretending things like, oh, it's business and things like that. Science never spoke for Hartford, Connecticut, let alone New York City. And they won't let presidents have free speech. But they don't even they don't even know what former director of the FBI Robert Luskin looks like. If they do, they're in collusion with the man with CNN. Please help. It's not personal. You're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. You need to pretend it's personal. I'm talking about the crime method here, recorded too, where they'll lie about what's recorded over the phone. They'll lie about what's recorded over the internet. And they're sequence shifting too, then trying to pretend it's about, because they're stacking so many natures of crime. They have WFSB involved, child sex offender and child trafficking crime acts with their fake news, attach me and kids to fake locations, fake ties to doctors that never were, fake ties to mental. I swear under oath, I had no mental diagnosis by doctors growing up and stuff like that. Now they have fake conversation made too. Now as an adult, because they use a triage you could force mental evaluation of someone. They're using that to prevent crime acts from being demonstrated per the roles with the principal sex offenders campus and with the police chiefs and interbranch family members, including prosecutors. That's not fun. Delay. Anomaly from whoever becomes president, they won't let presidents have free speech. That's true. They will not let her president. I get what you're saying. They're stacking too many natures in crimes and changing their own names. They're forging and switching names and they're making confessions Because if you go into court where they force and they have recorded, confessed, and demonstrated the courts have been stacking falsified police reports, illusions with a whole bunch of police departments in other words, they've been using the judicial branch on and off the state judicial branch offices. The executive branch has been using it criminally. The military, their family members have been influencing them to use it criminally, to pretend to perceive things, to act passions and emotions that they know are not true because they need to hide life progressions, which are actually recorded. That's what I'm trying to say. We have a whole bunch of people tied to a Walters, Chris Walters. I don't know his wife's maiden name or who she's associated with now. Then they bring their kids into it. They have in other words, this is how they bring the sensibilities that everyone uses as a weapon. With now, in other words, I don't know these people. They're preventing me free speech. They have officers forging names, switching names, attach people that were in the trade center to contacts right before it, and since attaching them and their family members, other people to fake locations, fake ties to people. These are people involved with Kuwaiti military criminally, with KKK themed military criminally, because they have the right to do that per statutes, but they're hid where they have exceptions where they're not supposed to be doing. They're involved with other natures of racketeering through time. I just remind. I never tried to contact that Justin Klavinskis in my life. He's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with all kinds of military how easily they're maintained criminally foreign influence on and off the campuses of each age connected. On and off UConn's involved criminally foreign influence. How many nations are racketeering with psychology, delusions wrought in our faces? They have crime methods with Russians and Americans with election spots, with Weathersfield, as people also criminal uses of WFSB, Fox Connecticut News, WTNH, also involved with racketeering with the campus, with men and women police forms, interbranch and stuff like that, private, foreign, involved with what is it called? The parks, intercities, and Weathersfield, and they're having played softball together, is involved with racketeering there. Now they act things, they yell things out, they pretend they say things. And then this is tied to a crime method that is preventing people from responses to interbranch racketeering with their kids. Also with overt criminal enterprises in my area through time. That's recorded and involved with their criminal uses of the witness protection program, and as their criminal uses of the same criminal enterprises. And ones aren't even tied, but they're tied other ways. So then now they have this guy, Robert Mueller, and this Comey guy, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with, I don't know them, but they're already recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a whole bunch of FBI and their family members, CIA and their family members, forging names, switching names, had me fake conversations about CIA, real creepy girls and stuff like that. See, they have fake conversations with me. Then I respond to those fake conversations because there's also, in other words, and that's my right. They're going to pretend things. In other words, and I didn't respond to first till I saw the pattern of the connections. So they also, they're stuck. So what we need to have now is a recorded pattern of them hiding abuses of kids. WFSB, Fox Connecticut News, Better Connecticut is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a whole bunch of foreign and domestic family members, Saudi family members, military, Kuwaiti military, deans, their family members, military police, state police involved with racketeering uses of West Farms Mall. A whole bunch of people tied to a Yagman family and people associated with that corner with the damn Samuel Dix house, all the way from where George Washington had the meet in Old Weathersfield. There's a house at the corner there, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with racketeering with a whole bunch of the departments at CCSU. Departments, no, too, because of the database relationships. and their ties to the criminal and seditious nature of volume being exploited here originally still. We have delusions wrought sciences. You know, in other words, they are worse than leeches upon Hartford, Connecticut, upon New Haven, where there are shootings. We never had our founders, of course. We have this one, in other words, told. The Saudis and we have MPO Floyd, the state Connecticut State Narcotics Drug Task Force, and we have a Kolvinskis family and the Lucinda, I don't know her name, with a whole bunch of men and women, military, interbranch, and so they're racketeering where everyone speaks to others, and they're already needing to hide that from presidents now because they're involved with database racketeering, evident mail crime rolls, wire crime rolls, forging names, switching names, foreign and domestic nurses' families involved with drugs with untimely deaths that are tied on off campuses, especially if any of them are made up, because some of them they're recorded tied to a pattern of mail crimes, wire crimes. People preventing me free speech. I want to do it online here too, because that's part of it. That's part, and they're extorting me from doing my work and using my evidence as per full, complete. They have racketeering uses of online platforms per their sensibilities in relationship to algorithms. They're already used criminally, everyone, victim predators of what uses each age of campuses, which keeps connected worse than interstates, all victim predator roles, sensibilities, valuing the Constitution abridged, value per their uses of phrases like the perfect world and their phrases like worldview and phrases like shock and awe and like radical Islam. Now, Facebook is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with FBI and CIA racketeering, with the policing, and all with judges, again with child trafficking roles, attaching little kids to fake locations through time. A whole bunch of people tied to the Morrow family also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated associated with a real or made up book called The Growing Up Trip. Now, these are people involved with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering, with a whole bunch of nations, with the DeMorrow family, the Scalora family, and the people, all the people around the park, like involved with CCSU. I never had anything to do with these these people. They like when you try to tell on them because they need to pretend you're. This is tied to them attaching little kids and each people of each age to fake locations, fake recorded things. There are two Mendez police and our two domain police also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with their families involved criminally, and with a whole bunch of people on off Fox Connecticut News with this. As ones further on off where they used to have a not Wethersfield Shopping Center, the one south of it, all the shopping centers, those little shopping centers, and throughout like pathology throughout the country with the pathology of homes that was forced since before cars with the torture method against the slavery method against everyone, including our founders. They put color in there specifically then for now for fact cheating nature racketeering, where everyone's blaming the real causes of the racketeering on other things other than themselves. We're entertaining the fake sides of Trinity, of why we are individual, grouped, and species bonded complete nature of volume. Individual bonded complete nature of volume. When that bonded complete is being used as negative value nature, the group becomes more and more valued. Whenever they're not valued simultaneously, when they're valued simultaneously, sequentially, and when sequence is true, in other words, the individual is valued first. So this is fake science. This is fake science. So but it's not fair if we what's fair, you know. We can afford. We don't even have to afford. We just say it's free. We would just declare ourselves to standards above which, in other words, these are forsaken standards involved with human fact, human nature, slavery, recorded self value because of the sick, child abuse. That forgiveness is about. Not there are there's positive the forgiveness or negative forgiveness not to give up, and then there's what discerns between that. This is the identity that ratiocination and pseudo ratiocination share. This is the identity that the predicate act is in demonstration of a criminal and seditious nature, as simultaneously while the predicate of English is a demonstration of identity too. They changed the town plaza market area, and now it has towers and looks militarized for food. Are you from Weatherfield? I don't know where the town plaza market area is, but there are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. There are people involved with Church Street, other houses there too, involved with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering uses of CCSU leading up to and in the Trade Center attack, and as roles with former director of the FBI, other agencies and military, foreign and domestic, involved criminal uses of on and off Fox Connecticut News. There was the owners of a club, Blue, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with a whole bunch of other nations with courts and with a Charlie Bowes. I never had a conversation with him. With the ILO family, with some girl I don't know the name of. She's not in the yearbook. She's associated with Heather Hansen, with a whole bunch of people with racketeering on and off Trinity College, with houses with racketeering uses of gym spots, involved with extortion here, identity theft, torture. They're involved intercities with confessions tied with the untimely deaths that brought up the child sex offenders and the principal sex offenders campus. The same people that were involved with that were involved with confessions tied to that when I was a kid. I didn't understand them, tied to Park Street and into a Cuddy family. A Lance Cuddy, I don't know his brother's names. I've never had a conversation with him in my life. He's one of the ones involved with racketeering on off the state judicial branch offices. Also with people with two speech teacher classes. I never had a personal conversation with them in high school, but they made confessions with a whole bunch of other people tied to this. Their roles with racketeering with Washington clicks, Trade Center, military, criminally foreign influence, roles with them, medical racketeering, other nations, overt criminal enterprises with databases, foreign, vertical, horizontal, tied to live aggressions from that. Worse, you're right, it's deep. When I was a kid, tied to Park Street. In other words, there's a Lena's Pizza on Park Street recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with sexual circles with with state police and with West Farms Mall with Better Connecticut. They have that guy Pettit involved with recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminal uses of lawyers by the Britain Superior Court through time. These are people involved with Trade Center predicate acts further. So it all led up to 911. And since, with predicate acts since, forging names, switching names, interbranch drug cliques attaching little kids to fake locations with principal sex offenders campus when they were still forcing that, and there are more recorded then and now. I'm not being let free speech because they're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, threatening everyone not to talk, threatening by forging names, switching names, threatening people to say nothing, using gun crime, bug spray crime rolls, wearing people out. These are people lying about with police forms and interbranch lying about cases that were actually won, pretending other, in full faked conversations with people. This is the problem with the child trafficking. It's a whole bunch of people with West Hartford that I don't know, tied to the intercities with these people from my town that they can't pretend to know me on paper because the only context I know them in was them trying to pretend things, acting for their own reasons and for other people because they have all these recorded roles with overt criminal enterprises, crime acts roles with them, illusions roles, the same illusions, not legal. These are ulterior from. In other words, not legal for what was demonstrated, confessed, and recorded about the Mendez brothers faking recorded things with WFSB, child sex trafficking, human trafficking, attaching little kids to fake locations with proven sex offenders, with their family members also involved with other natures of racketeering and uses of them for other natures of crimes. But see, well, I just remind need to get me from the fake conversations every year of my life with the same tied clicks to the houses in my area, too. That I never had anything to do with what when I was 5 years old, 6 years old, or crimes. So, in other words, do you know anybody on Park Street? See, because they're telling everyone to hide and lie because the branches have been crime acting individually grouped and together. So you can't go into a court and they're recorded. They're not going to follow the rules because they're already criminally foreign influence crime acts. They're already having confessed, recorded, and demonstrated whole crime methods recorded. These are still highly criminally foreign influence courts originating still by the same exact method. Whole bunch of people with Wethersfield Pizza, their family members, their extended family members, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved racketeering with people with CCSU, with the state judicial branch offices on and off it. Whole bunch of people on and off to Route Highway. These are people with the racketeering roles all along routes. The DeMoro family, they moved now they're to Southstein Highway, Rocky Hill, all along that route to downtown Hartford, right where they have the Nipsey Hussle on the build right below the building of Fox Connecticut News, involved with the racketeering with the child offenders, also with police forms associated with real or made up bank robberies. I don't know if they're pretending practice associated roles with so there's highway entrances and exits there at the end of the Town Line Drive into Southstein Highway. And then with there's like an Omni Club. That guy's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. These are people also with my street through time and their extended family members. This is Wethersfield, Connecticut, with the state judicial branch office, state prison offices involved all along. But this is also people involved with Newtown, Sandy Hook. These are people with crime methods, intercities tied through time. I just remind. A whole bunch of people used a recorded, confessed, and demonstrated uses of a DACA program and of a Mike Roberts involved with black-white judges involved with sequence racketeering. Year before that, in other words, they're pretending behaviors and emotions in relationship to things in the past because they're involved with vertical horizontal database racketeering with my new and past neighbors, whole bunch of people with a pattern next to the house schools tied to them with further racketeering with child sex offenders, with the Dillon family, with other families with the military, foreign and domestic, and people involved uses of Facebook, fake conversations with me, and with doctors, fake relationships to doctors with kids and their family members. You attach a kid to and or a family member to fake doctors too. You're attaching them too. This is all kinds of natures of these are all kinds of natures of crime, various natures of courts and their drug clicks through time. So I'm not trying to make anything up, and I'm not trying to they're trying to need to pretend things are personal. That's also part of the crime method because they know what is actually recorded is that only there are people I don't know at all recorded involved with them with child sex offenders, and there are people that are pretending other and with people I barely know and they can't and they're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated the context I know them involved tied with all that stuff. They don't have the right to do that. They're lying about the statutes. Statutes are recorded criminally foreign influence anyway. Delusions rot our stewards. I watched Nipsey Hussle streams when he died. I invest I investigated because it seemed like something up So I don't know. I'm not making opinions about anything. They also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they tell people to pretend that others make conspiracy theories with the people on off Fox Connecticut News, with also property thefts, like intellectual property thefts, fake conversations with me. As people with attaching roles, attaching little kids to fake conversations, fake locations, and then they're hiding live progressions. The Domain family, I only saw him. He's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. I barely know him. He's also a whole bunch of people in the Britain Superior Court involved with child, with judges involved with them criminally and fire departments, and the police chief's family, foreign and domestic, involved criminally here. With the child offenders preventing me free speech and playing games with little punks. You know what I'm saying? I need to get a response, and they need to see, and we'll all see renaissance. No, so they have actual racketeering and child abuses associated with their fake news that they have statutes telling them they could do, but they were doing it criminally. Now, WFSB has already recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with locations next to them and the space around them also used criminally already through time. So but they use sequence racketeering because now they're needing to hide about how they're pretending mandated law means ask someone else, but they're knowing interbranch, individually grouped and together. They already forged names, switched names. If you call over the phone, they recorded that they recorded themselves. They lie about what's actually recorded over the phone, what's actually recorded over the internet. Now there's a DeMoro family recording, confessed to demonstrate with these others that a whole bunch of other nations kept and keep them involved criminally foreign influence. Racketeering rolls actual when they're kids. Lying in conjunction with people stacking like a former mayor goal is also with an O'Brien family, with the departments of CCSU were involved with this game, with judges recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them, also with the child trafficking, and with Sandy Hooks, and with Trade Center involved with this, with a whole bunch of families, criminally foreign influence, sexual circles, they speak through that. Their roles with drugs, they speak to that. Then they want to keep drugs illegal for other people. These are people with a whole bunch of nations, criminal with Justice Department, with psychology, also with the prisons, recorded as the prison cliques involved with the child traffic, with sex offender from Sandy Hook, Newtown, tied to the principal sex offenders campus in my town with the Wethersfield police chief, all racketeering through time with a whole bunch of people with his foreign and domestic family member. His place used for people that talk about World War One, stuff like that. In other words, people involved with racketeering, criminally foreign influence, military. Everyone speaking to others being used criminally. Forging names, switching names into branches being used criminally. CNN roles criminally. Now they have to pretend they're capable of doing their jobs. They're involved with elections racketeering, local, states, areas, and national. They're involved with racketeering with child offenders, with the mothers, even of sheriffs. We have interbranch police forms involved since I was a kid. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated. I don't know. They use the confessions from people you're never going to see, and you're only going to know them from that confession, but they were never supposed to confess. That's used to keep the self-valued, locked, criminally foreign influence. A whole bunch of people tied to a Casper family, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with military racketeering with the VA and with Hartford Hospital, with locations on off them, with prostitution cliques associated with these sexual circles, and with them, they trick you to go to a place, then they pretend you're involved with that. I never had sex with with a prostitute. These are, in other words, you try to talk to them, oh, I didn't understand. That's why you have to stop playing games and get me a response from Interbranch, the recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering roles and uses of online policing to pretend things in conjunction with the Interbranch attaching little kids to fake locations through time. These are like circle jerk clicks and stuff like that. Per them, also associated with some church group with a whole bunch of people with DMV, the Department of Transportation, and DMV involved with racketeering with houses on and off 2 Route Highway. Again, involved attaching me to fake locations, fake ties to them, sequence shifts, fake ties to people tied to them, as people all along the routes involved with racketeering interbranch through time. I just remind, and people involved racketeering AT&T on and off the FBI in New Haven, Yale, UConn. They're sick. Psychology. They're sick trying to make the sciences an identity shared that's other than how they share their identity and why. This is an identity of volume that's only filling this identity that is attached to all questions as its answer slash S. I tell it best, box sings. Okay, thank you all for coming out tonight. Good night, y'all. Sandy Hook building aerial. Oh, I have to, not yet. Sandy Hook building aerial view shows it designed as a serpent consuming alive a human sacrifice. What? So there's a Lanza family also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with racketeering with people all along that Maple Street, and as the route that goes by the state judicial branch offices, and all people on off it, involved with also racketeering uses of corners, and of all like along Griswold Street, houses on the corners of Griswold Street, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated uses of racketeering, even by having someone walk by so they can pretend they're trying to perceive or test things. This is through time they're preventing people from speech while they're attaching everyone to fake speech. To Mendez police, there's a Janito Mendez officer with Wethersfield Police. His brother involved racketeering into branch with child sex offender principal, and attached me to fake conversation with this Janito Mendez, pretended it was recorded too by police. So we have him involved also as one of the him and his brother involved also with the main family with women police and private building security associated with Fox Connecticut News and agencies and their family members on off them in the buildings next to them, like the old G Fox building. All campuses used criminally. They have the video title is why this school shaped like a child eating serpent. Oh, so in other words, we need a place to counter. They have algorithms because they're needing to lie about behavior originally and still, because these are pseudo positive. So we're going to have to counter all the racketeering that is, like, for example, with Russians and American agencies recorded criminal uses of Wethersfield town offices, criminal uses of databases, and of their roles with medical clicks, foreign and domestic, with confessions to be from nowhere that then were recorded themselves and confirmed online. They were influenced to pretend things and relate and make confessions tied to that, and their relationship with their family members with this. This is also how they have the relationship between the fire department and the police forms used to keep them criminally foreign influenced. The Russians and a whole bunch of nations were here since before our founders together. They were sophistication first. Don't forget that. Don't forget that George Washington did not chop down the fake branches in Connecticut where he had to leave overt slavery with color. Yes. And so that's the Webb house. The Webb of deceit. A web of the Webb's house. The Webb Stevens, not Webb. First it was Webb house. Now it's Webb / Stevens house. Now it's Webb Stevens house. And that's where George Washington had to come. And there's a house right in the corner there. And they're trying to start a fight with me and that lady, who was my English teacher. I wrote a good poem too. What is it? It was a happy birthday poem. Another year around the burning sun. But that lady on that street, I didn't know she lived there then. And the people she's tied with, like acting department. Those people are involved, although there's a pattern of people involved with racketeering, like pretending with theater, with like trying to. These are people who steal people's ideas and stuff like that. Then they're going to pretend other people do that. As we have, in other words, or by implying it, not in other words, online as people involved with the pattern of racketeering with the child sex offenders when they were forcing it. They used Facebook to force sexual abuses then and now, medical abuses, roles with the human trafficking, with the Weathersfield police chief, former director of the FBI, people associated with uses of the Samuel Dix house. Harry Beecher Stowehouse, which is who brought the Uncle Tom, and that's right there with the Mark Twain house on Farmington Avenue. Down the street, former director of the FBI, former standing chairperson on Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act, Robert Luskin, his lawyer, Robert Chevrolet, is associated with a place there. Also, people involved with mail crimes, wire crimes, intercity, a whole bunch of people from my town involved with racketeering, like even just by having them drive by me. Time. No, these are people that in other words, they're stealing people's identities and telling people what to pretend. In other words, they're lying about online behavior. They're lying about what is care. They have all kinds of racketeering, owing more than they would need for Obamacare, for example. He didn't have free speech. There are laws. President Trump tried to ask, how many of you have seen, he didn't say this way, but he said, how many of you have seen a former standing chairperson on Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization Act, the people that deal with those legal at that level, Trade Center. He didn't say it like that, but I'm saying. And people snap because they can't take free speech because they're criminally foreign influenced, because they're victims of sciences that left them with cheap value treatments like isms, like subconscious. See, what subconscious is recorded, there are proofs that it is recorded involved with the worse than obfuscation of logic's actual course. See, now we have to entertain people what they think about our ego and things like that, because they need to prevent what is actually recorded from having free speech. So they're offensively keeping everybody vile who is pretending. That's what they're using. Bullying. They're pretending to be against bullying. WFSB, Fox Connecticut News, WTNH, Better Connecticut. Meanwhile, they're involved with sick, fake care, fake righteous aggression, forcing kids to hide the live aggressions of interbranch drug cliques, interbranch racketeering, fake police reports into databases. It's not about if people, just because people go to court doesn't mean they did something wrong, especially when we have recorded, confessed, and demonstrated human trafficking, real sick predators, interbranch originally and still, and all private tied to them. That's what's actually recorded. Now, so we have Weathersfield elect, we have a Weathersfield retired and standing mayors, in other words, involved with racketeering. And they're trying to start fights with me and mayors that I don't even know. The Morin family, I don't know, she was in a class with me. I never did anything wrong to Julie Morin. And she recorded, confessed, and demonstrated having been in communications with people like Sal Civiello. I never had anything to do with him. In other words, only time I know him from was a confession demonstration. His roles with Eric Jensen, other people on and off Two Rod Highway, involved racketeering with them. And these are people with racketeering with a whole bunch of federal criminals as and tied to the ones as the federal criminal co-defendants, a former director of the FBI in a 2006 district case, which has their motives because they were already using CCSU in each of the campuses I went to criminally against me, faking things into databases in conjunction with the interbranch doing that through time. Now there's a whole crime method slash S bonded on tied to this. They pretend that they're trying to test things tied to it, like I forget all their names. So if you guys don't want me to bring in all these names, I have to research, and they want it because then they can pretend we had a conversation, relationship to people that I don't even know from my grade, from other other towns. There's a Scalora family and there's a Dr. Laura Saunders, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by people tied to them and by themselves. Through the Laura Saunders recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the media racketeering with their police forms. Their motivations for it were their racketeering acts leading up to and in the 2006 case, Connecticut, leading up to and in a Trade Center attack. Now, the Morrow family, the Kerr family, they recorded, confessed, and demonstrated how the Heather Hansen is involved with the girl I don't know the name of from Trinity College, with the foreign and domestic and what they call intelligence community that are involved further with the child offenders. These are also people with an ILO family and with recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with his sisters, with their boyfriends in the past or something like that, and their roles with racketeering with a recorded with WFSB with a Mayano family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with it, and with FBI, with people in the Britain Superior Court, with a whole bunch of racketeering with them through time. As evidence racketeering, mail crimes, sequence shift roles. These are people tied to proven sequence shift from inside the Ninth Circuit, right next to the Trade Center, right before the attack. They showed an illusion affected from inside the Ninth Circuit to the Ninth Circuit. That proven led to the 2006 case with former Director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and with his federal criminal co-defendants already involved with all kinds of natures of racketeering on off CCSU and on off UConn and on off Trinity College since I was a kid, before I went to Trinity or CCSU. And there were other interstates and foreign campuses involved criminally, other foreign nations recorded, confessed, and demonstrated how it kept involved. They keep little native racketeering natures as positive treatment natures, private originally and still, tied to only sick, overt things like war, sick, crazy, because of there's no one ever had a campus that wasn't criminally foreign influence and delusions wrought sciences. Thank you. Maxine, I break them here. CT.